What are y'all looking at? I love whitewater rafting. It is an awesome, awesome thing. I've been down the middle Ocoee River 3 times. And what's awesome about the middle Ocoee River, this is where the Olympics event of rafting was held, there in eastern Tennessee. And so I've had an opportunity to do that river 3 times. Love it. But that has not always been the case. The first time I went rafting, I thought I had my courage up and was ready to hit the rapids for the very first time. But that changed when we arrived and they started giving us our stuff and everything we needed, and we had to fill out a consent form. And I've got a copy of this consent form here this morning, and I printed it off just this week off the website, and this is what it says. All right, listen to this. It says that Ocoee outfitters cannot be held responsible for the following: physical or emotional injury, paralysis, death. Now you think that would be good enough to stop there at death, but they don't. They keep going. Damage to myself or to my property. Risks include capsizing rafts, forces of nature, wild animals, collisions with rocks, trees, and other rafters, falling rocks, hypothermia, broken bones, drowning, or weather conditions that change without warning, and to cap it all off, dismemberment. If you ain't scared now, I don't know what's wrong with you. All right? So after I full-heartedly signed my name to that document, they then show you a map of the river that you're going to be taking. And they show you all the rapids that are on that river. And they tell you the names. They name the rapids. And so just here's some of the names. Gonzo Shoals. Broken Nose. How did that get that name? The Double Suck. The Double Trouble. The Table Saw. Are we supposed to be the piece of wood going over the table saw? What are some other ones here? The Diamond Splitter. The Witch's Hole. Now, if you ain't scared after signing the release form, and you're not scared after hearing the names of the rapids you're going to be going down, then they give you your safety briefing, all right? So this is what they say. They say, when you fall out of the raft. Not if you fall out of the raft, but when you fall out of the raft, make sure you lay down on your back, put your feet up in the air, and just go with the current. Just go with the water. And this is why they say do that. Because if you put your feet under you, it's very likely that your feet will get stuck in a rock or in a hole. And then the current will come and it will either drown you or break your leg. All right. I'm needing some courage about right this moment. So they suit us up. They give us our life vests and our helmets and our oars. And we get all piled on a rickety old school bus. And we make our way up the river. And we get to the put-in point. I'm already kind of shaking a little bit. You know, I'm a grown man, but I'm a little scared, I have to admit to you. And I got a picture. I took a picture of the put-in point. I want you to see it, all right? I've got it up here on the screen. Go ahead, cheeseburger. All right, so this is the put-in point. All right, it's kind of hard to tell here with this screen, but this is the ramp that you walk down to put in. And this is a spillway over a dam that the water is thundering down over this spillway to the point where we have to put in. You have to yell and scream at each other because the water is so loud and the thundering of the water over this spillway. And I'm like shaking in my helmet, like, am I really want to do this? And then the guide turns to us and he says, all right, as soon as we get in the boat, we're going to hit a class 4 rapid, so you need to make sure you're ready. I'm like, can I walk back down the road? Will they notice if I don't get in the boat? What am I going to do? I needed courage. This morning, we're going to take a look at a disciple who had need of courage. Actually, all 12 of them needed courage in this passage. Matthew 14, verses 22 through 36. We're going to see a picture of Peter. And Peter was in a boat as well. But it wasn't a rafting boat, it was a fishing boat. And he was at a major disadvantage to me. He didn't have a helmet to wear. I don't know if they had even invented life vests at this time, but pretty much he probably didn't have one. Probably didn't even have an oar. But let's look together at this life-defining moment for Peter. Matthew 14, verses 22 through 36. We're going to start with verses 22 through 24. Immediately, Jesus made the disciples get into the boat and go on ahead of him to the other side, where he dismissed the crowd. After he had dismissed them, he went on a mountainside by himself to pray. When evening came, he was there alone. But the boat was already a considerable distance from land, buffeted by the waves because the wind was against it. We all face storms. We all face storms. The message, the paraphrase called The Message, paraphrases this verse as when the winds came up against them, they were battered by the waves. This was a bad storm. If fishermen are scared, you know it's a bad storm. So this is the case here. You have to realize that the Sea of Galilee is like one of our Great Lakes up north. It's 13 miles long at its longest. It's 7.5 miles at its widest. And its small size makes it vulnerable to the winds that come across the valley. And so they'll come across one side of the valley and then they'll switch. And the winds will come from the other side of the valley. And it makes the Sea of Galilee like a washing machine sometimes. Sometimes for a period of 2 to 3 days, the waters of the Sea of Galilee will be churned. Peter and his fellow riders knew that they were in trouble. What should have been a 60-minute cruise became a night-long battle. The boat lurched and lunged like a kite in the March wind. Sunlight was a distant memory. Rain fell from the sky in buckets. Lightning sliced through the blackness, making the hairs stand on the back of their necks and deafening them every time it hit. The winds whipped them, ready to tear them to shreds. Would this describe your status in life? Maybe you can substitute a few nouns and it might describe your life. In the middle of divorce, tossed by guilt. In the middle of debt, tossed by our creditors. In the middle of a family argument, tossed by hurt and bitterness. In the middle of downsizing, tossed by a pink slip. We all face storms. The disciples